Hello, friend. Thank you for joining me once again. And we are having our series. Now, we introduced earlier a topic of nutrition, and we had part one of it. And in part one, we had different things. We had cooking, we had what nutrition is. And so today, we are going to have our part two of something called indigestion. Now, before we even go to indigestion, we first have to talk about digestion. Before we go to what goes wrong, let's first talk about what actually is right. So, digestion, if someone asked about digestion, whatever comes in your mind is, I might not be sure of it, but I am sure that you think about food. Now, digestion is the breakdown of this. When you're eating, you don't eat the real nutrients, you eat food as a whole. And so, when it is broken down into smaller portions that can be absorbed into the bloodstream, now that is the digestion that we are talking about. And so, you realize that the nutrients go to our bloodstream. Maybe most of us don't know where the food goes. Maybe people think that when you eat, then it goes direct to the stomach, and then you have to go to the toilet and, trash it off, but it goes through the bloodstream. And this tells us that when it goes to the bloodstream, it has a reason as to why it goes to the bloodstream. Well, it goes to the bloodstream because it wants to build something, it wants to do something. That means whatever you eat has something to do with your life, it has something to do with your being, it has something to do with your living, it has a lot to do with your health. And so, whenever you're eating, you are supposed to have reasons as to why you're eating whatever you're eating. In fact, when you read Ecclesiastes chapter 10, it tells you that happy are those who eat for strength and not for drunkenness. And so you must be sure that I am eating this because I need this. And that will help you to avoid some of the dangerous things, and it will help you to actually gain a lot of health. For example, if you're eating breakfast, you are sure you're going to spend the whole day working or doing all those things, and so you are sure you need a very heavy breakfast. But when you're going to eat your dinner, when you're going to eat your supper, you don't need a lot of energy, so you don't need much of the carbohydrates, you don't need much of the heavy foods, because after all, in a few hours you're going to rest. And so before you eat, before you drink, before you do whatever you do as far as nutrition is concerned, you have to have a reason as to why you're eating what you're eating. You don't just have to eat for fun, or you don't have just to eat because food is there. That would not be good. But you have to make sure that before you eat, ask yourself, this mango that I'm eating, what is it doing to my body? If I don't have enough of this, do I need more of maybe this fruit, or maybe the other grain, or maybe the other thing, so that you are sure that if I lack this, I need to eat this to replace it. If I have enough of this, I have to minimize eating this and that. And so you have to be sure of the foods that you're eating, so that you be sure of the health that you are preserving. Now that we have known digestion, we go to indigestion. Indigestion is simply digestion that has gone wrong, or it always comes with discomfort or pain in the stomach, and it's because digestion has not really gone well. Maybe food is undigested, or it's not fully digested, or something has gone wrong, and so that will be indigestion. And some of the symptoms of indigestion, there is feeling uncomfortably full. You feel full, and yet you are not full in actual sense. Maybe another sign could be bloating. You have a bloated stomach, or you have nausea and vomiting, and you have bringing of food from down. It's as if you're going to vomit, but you're not vomiting, and so it's an irritating thing. Now, when you have one of those, you must not conclude that it is indigestion, because some of the drugs maybe that we take can cause nausea, can cause vomiting. So unless you are sure that something has gone wrong with your eating or with whatever, you cannot conclude that this is indigestion. It could be other reasons, but these are some of the symptoms of indigestion that we can look at. So now, having known the signs and symptoms of indigestion, you're going to now look at what actually causes indigestion. And indigestion is really caused by the bad habits of eating. the bad eating habits, most especially, are the ones that cause indigestion. Some of which we didn't know that actually cause indigestion. Maybe we've been doing it out of ignorance, but well, they cause indigestion. And maybe you have been having maybe a bloated stomach, you've been having maybe a nausea all this time, and you didn't know maybe that it was caused by indigestion because of some practice that you have been practicing. So now we're going to look at the different causes of indigestion, one of which is hasty eating. Sometimes we become too busy for our health, and when food is provided on our plates, we want to eat so fast so that we go back to class, or we go back to work, or we go back to what. And then, for example, if you have to eat posho or ugali, I don't know how you pronounce it in your country, but that posho, that ugali needs a lot of chewing because it is a carbohydrate, and most of the digestion of carbohydrates actually takes part in the mouth. Now, from experience, you go and try it out. When you chew that posho, that ugali for a very long time, you start feeling something sweet in your mouth. Now, it means that it has been digested, and that sweet thing that you're feeling, that you're tasting, is actually glucose. Now, that means you have made your digestion a little simpler. Otherwise, you're going to have indigested food, and the way you put it in, the way it's the same way that it's going to actually go out. Where I live, there is something called kalo, and most of the people don't actually chew it. They just take it and swallow it, and the reason that it's tastier that way, it is sweeter that way. But yet, it's also a carbohydrate, you know. Millet bread is a carbohydrate, and so it needs a lot of chewing, it needs a lot of concentration. So if you don't do that, then you will take it in and you will put it out, and you will have no reason for eating that millet bread that you're eating, because it has not gained you. Remember, we say that what we eat has to be broken down to the bloodstream to give us maybe strength, or maybe whatever it is that we need from the food. So if you do not chew that carbohydrate very well, chances are high that you're going to lose most of the nutrients, and then you will be eating for nothing. Then another cause, or another bad habit that could cause indigestion, is eating very late at night. Now, the best time for you to rest, to go to bed, is usually at least 2 hours before midnight. That's the appropriate time for you to go to bed. Now, of course, we shall talk about rest in another video, but just to say, if you're eating at 11 p.m. and you're sleeping at 11:30 or maybe midnight, now that means you have broken two laws, the laws of nutrition and the laws of health. And remember, as Christians, we believe that the body that we have is not ours, it is actually for God, that He has lent it to us. We read that from the Bible, and we saw that in another video. And so you are suffering your body, you're suffering physically, and you're also suffering God's temple. So eating very late at night is very not good, because if you have tried it before, you realize that when you eat very late in the night, in the morning you feel so hungry. It is because what you've eaten has done nothing to your body. It came and it just moved out just like you put it in, and you are tiring the digestive system. Remember, you are suffering God's temple, so you will be asked one day. Then another thing is eating very large meals at once. You know, they bring almost a whole bucket of food and you finish it at once. It is not good. It's surely not good, because it makes you uncomfortable, it dulls the mind, it shortens your life, it has a lot of disadvantages that it brings. So it is better if you eat enough food that is not too small and not too big, but appropriate, that will supply to your body the nutrients that you need. Not too much and not too small, but enough for you to go on with your duties. Another cause of indigestion is frequency in eating. How often do you eat? Do you eat 100 times a day? Do you eat 5 times a day? Do you eat 3 times? And which one is the recommended frequency of eating? Now, the best would be 2 times in a day. And in case you can't do without it, then do maximum 3. And in those 3 or 2 times, make sure before you go for the next meal, you have spent at least 5 hours before going for another meal. So don't eat a lot of times in it. And in between those meals, if you decide to take your breakfast at this particular time, then skip 5 hours and have maybe your lunch or your dinner, I don't know. But in between that time, make sure you do not eat anything. Make sure you do not interrupt the process of digestion in between the meals that you're going to have. So if you're eating your breakfast, and remember, breakfast is the most important of the 3 or of the 2 meals that you're going to eat. Now, we usually use a slogan that eat breakfast as a queen, as a king, and then lunch as a queen, and then dinner as a beggar. The reason is very simple. Breakfast, you need a lot of nutrients. Actually, it's very advised that your breakfast should have a lot of vegetables, fruits and nuts and all that, because they contain a lot of natural nutrients other than frying this and that or maybe snacking. And it's usually mistaken in most of us that when we are going to have breakfast, then we are rushing to go to work or to school, and then we misuse the laws of health, and then you find you're taking just tea with a simple snack, and then you're running to work or to school, and you find that you are actually causing yourself problems. Now, the thing that we forget is that the work or the school that we are trying to run after is actually dependent on our health or on our living. If you're dead, you cannot go to school. If you're sick, you cannot go to work. And so we kind of think that we are too busy for our bodies, and yet at the end of the day, the work that we are trying to chase, when you get sick, well, and you spend maybe a week without going, they will maybe chase you, and then you will lose both your health and your job at the same time, or school at the same time, or maybe you could lose your life because you're not taking very good care of yourself. And so you find that you are causing problems to yourself. Then when you rush to work to get this money is instead used to treat the illness that has been caused by chasing the work. I don't know if you're getting my point. So before you rush to work, before you rush to the hospital, or before you rush to your job or to school or to wherever you're going, make sure that you take care of your health, because the work, the school, and whatever it is that you're doing is dependent on your health and on your living. Otherwise, if you do not maintain your health as far as nutrition is concerned, then you will have to solve the problem by worsening it. I mean to say, if, for example, you do not, the slogan that always goes around, if you do not take food as medicine, then you will take medicine as food. Why? Because if you do not eat because you want this nutrient or that nutrient, and you end up eating whatever comes in your eyes or on your table, then you will end up getting sick. And what will happen is, when you get sick, they will get you medicines, and then you will have to take them morning, afternoon, and evening, and it will become your food because you did not use food as medicine. And when you have already gotten sick, the only way to solve the problem is actually to worsen the problem. You know, you're sick, and then they have to give you medicines which are toxic in themselves, which will cause you problems in the next generation, on the next years to come. And so you find you're treating symptoms of this disease, and then after some 5 years, you will again treat the disease that has been caused by the medicine that you took maybe 5 years back. And you find you're in a rotation of treating. Yet, if you focused on your nutrition, you would erase all those problems. Now, you're not supposed to eat, even if it's a fruit, if you have taken your breakfast. Actually, the most advised thing to do in between meals is taking water, and taking water is usually 30 minutes before a meal and 1 to 2 hours after a meal. That's the only advised thing to take in between meals for your better health. Because if you keep snacking, then it delays digestion, and then the food is not well digested, and then it ferments, and then you have all these things that will irritate your stomach or will irritate your digestive system. Then another bad habit that we always use is irregularity in eating. When you have set your time that at least I'm taking breakfast at maybe 8 a.m. or 9 p.m., make sure that the next breakfast and the next breakfast take it in that regular time so that you help your digestive system to make it easy for digestion. So don't take breakfast at 7, then tomorrow at 8, then the other day at 9, then the other day at 6. It will confuse your digestive system and it will not be good for you. And then another bad habit that we always use is eating very hot or very cold foods. That is not really good because the enzymes will have to make it moderate, and then you're tiring your enzymes before you finish the whole digestion. You're already tired and you're already dozing, and then all those things. The next common thing that is done very many times is not concentrating on our food. You're eating, you're watching TV, you're on your phone, you're making a call, you're doing this and that, you're on social media, and you're not concentrating on what you eat. Now that simply means that whatever you will eat will have less to do with your health because you're not concentrating and you don't even know what you're doing. So the best thing is, if you're eating, eat. Have time to eat. When you're eating, leave alone the social media, leave alone the other things, and concentrate on your health and on your eating. Do not eat with water. When you're eating, like we said, it is 30 minutes before food and then 1 to 2 hours after food. So because when you keep taking water also delays digestion because the enzymes have to squeeze it out and then to separate water from the food, and that will not be good for your body. Then eating too fatty foods also causes digestion. Now that is a science for another time that we are going to have a video on it, but make sure you avoid. In the previous video, we talked about how it is better to eat unfried foods, and we said in case you can't do with unfried foods, then there is a better way of frying your food, and there are some foods that do not need frying, that do not need any of those spicing things, because the more you spice the food, the more you duplicate it, and the more it loses its nutrients, and the more you're doing nothing or actually harm to your body. Eat a balanced diet. If today you eat a mango, the next day you take an orange, and the next day something like that, so that you gain at least a balanced diet, like we said. Let not yourself be fed with one kind of nutrient, and then you find that you have a lot of proteins and then you have less carbohydrates, or you have a lot of vitamins and then you have less of this. Now remember, the body is combined of all its parts, and it needs balanced supplying of all those nutrients. The hand needs to work well for the mind to work well, for the body to work well, for everything to work well. So if you deny this nutrient to your body, it means you're going to lack in some of the things, and then it is going to disturb you. Now lastly, an advice that we can have is, when you're eating, don't become lonely. It is really advised that when you're eating, have some friends around, enjoy the eating time, have a good time when you're eating, because that also plays part in the digestion, in your psychological activity, and it will help you a lot. So these are some of the causes of indigestion, and maybe some of the things that we have not talked about that maybe you can find out later, but these are some of them which are major. So in case you've been practicing those bad habits, please, the Bible tells us that to him who knows the good thing to do and does it not, to him it is sin. So make sure you do not sin. You shall be accountable of the knowledge that you have received today. So make sure if you have been doing something and you've heard it and you've made research about it and you know that it's not something to be done, please stop doing it. And when you know that this is what I'm supposed to do, please start doing it if it is in your capacity. May God bless you, and I hope the video was very interesting and very beneficial, and I hope that the next time that we meet, we are going to talk about another interesting topic. May God bless you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in another video. See you. Join us as we unpack this free gift that God has given to us, with no cost, with no dime, with no money, with no dollar, with no shilling, with nothing. Greetings, friend. My name is Nahabwe Charity Talent, and I have two questions for you. One of which is, do you know that there are some of the things that you do that shorten your life? And do you know that there are some of the things that you do that prolong your life? Well, I have have good news for you in case you didn't know. This series that we are going to start are going to fill us with the things that we are supposed to do so that we can have a very good life, a very healthful living, some of which have a lot to do with nutrition, others have a lot to do with our lifestyle, what we do, what we do not do, what we're supposed to do, what we are required of. Well, it's not only about that. We are going to learn a lot of things like a formula called New Start: nutrition, exercise, water, temperance, air, and all those things that you're going to be looking at. You can join us by subscribing, and you can still click that notification button so that when the video is premiered, you will be the first one to get to know of it. May God bless you. I hope that you will be blessed in this series that you're going to have, like I have benefited since I got to know about them.